Hello, this is Richard Bruce, your Prozac Economist, bringing to you some happy, good news about the economy, so perhaps you won't need to use quite so much Prozac. The idea here is to have a sort of less depressing look at the economy. And one thing that has not been depressing, that has been really positive about the economy in recent years, and in fact recent decades, has been the rapid rise of the poorest countries on earth. In the year 1998, about 60% of the world's population were living in what the World Bank considered low-income countries. The World Bank's definition of low-income country in 2011 was $1,025. Okay, and that's adjusted for inflation over the years. By the year 2010, now that's 12 years after 1998, they had gone from 60% of the world's population in low-income countries down to 12% of the world's population in low-income countries. That was an 80% reduction in only 12 years. 80% reduction in 12 years. China, India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Vietnam moved on up. Now that's 5 of the 6 largest countries measured by population, 6 largest population countries among the low-income countries moved out of the low-income category into the lower middle-income category, and China moved not only into the lower middle-income category, but now has moved to the upper middle-income category. So we have seen a rapid rise of the countries at the bottom. We may not see super fast emptying of the low-income category in the next few years because there really aren't that many countries with large populations that are close to the borderline. For example, it's going to take a few years for Bangladesh to make it. Not that Bangladesh isn't moving forward fairly rapidly. It is, but it just has a long ways to go before it makes it to what in 2011 would have been $1,025 and has moved out of the low-income category into the lower middle-income category. Of course, when we're talking about the low-income category, that's very poor. That doesn't mean that suddenly those countries become rich countries. They become lower middle income and move from there upper middle income and finally high income. And it's only the high income countries that are considered to be developed countries. Okay, for the future, some people think that a lot of countries are going to just be stuck down there. They talk about the bottom billion. Well, it's less than 1 billion countries and people in the low-income category now. But still, there's this feeling that there are a lot of these people stuck down at the bottom. Now, first of all, there are some countries like North Korea, which have extremely bad governments, or countries where there is a lot of fighting, revolution, like Afghanistan, Congo, etc., which are to some degree really in a mess. But to some degree, the fact that some of these countries are in a mess and therefore are not likely to attract a lot of the industry and other economic activity which would pull them up into the lower middle income category and even higher, that means that there are more jobs in those areas for those other low-income countries that aren't in a complete mess, that don't have absolutely terrible governmental situations. Now, for those countries that do have at least somewhat semi-stable governments, half-decent governments, not good governments, but just half, not terrible governments, there's a lot of hope for the future. First, they can earn the foreign exchange they need to import the capital goods they need to grow through industry. And of course, with China moving on up, it's shedding huge amounts of industry to poor nations, much of that going to lower middle income countries like Indonesia, India, Vietnam. But some of that is going to be going on to Bangladesh in particular, an industrial exporting country. and eventually other lower income countries. So one of the big advantages now for those low-income countries, it was traditional in the past that low-income countries were going to produce the t-shirts, toys, and toasters for the high-income countries. Well, in the olden days, there might be one back that needed a t-shirt in the high-income countries for every 4 pairs of hands that were willing to produce that t-shirt in the low-income countries. But now that the low-income countries have emptied out, now that there are more people living in the high-income countries than the low-income countries, there is a lot more opportunity for the people remaining in those low-income countries. So we can see even more rapid industrial development. Beyond the industrial development, India has provided us with a whole new area of hope by showing us a new form of industrialization in the form of internet outsourcing, which is a very exciting area. And one of the nice things about industry, they really don't have to get the whole country in order for industry to thrive. You can just have one single city in which industry or internet outsourcing too. Both of these activities, industry and internet or outsourcing, can thrive in a single city in a poor country. So all they have to do is get one area where the government is properly functioning, even if there is a lot of revolution and lots of problems out in the hinterlands. If you can get things under control and encouraging the development in one small area, then we can see the rapid growth of these countries. A third area, however, we can't gain that particular advantage, and the third area of hope is the not rising natural resource prices. And this has been, for example, leading to the very rapid growth of a lot of countries, for example, in Africa, have been growing rapidly off of rising natural resource prices. The downside of this, of course, is that one of those natural resource prices that tend to rise is the price of food, and so that has been a major problem for this group of people. And a fourth area in which they can earn needed foreign exchange to buy food, but also to buy the industrial goods, for example, the equipment that they need to industrialize and therefore move on up, is workers' remittances. In other words, sending workers abroad and then those workers abroad sending money home. There are new opportunities opening up in this area for the low-income countries because countries like, for example, Mexico, Brazil, and others that used to export lots of labor to the first world aren't exporting as much. Mexico is basically not much of a net exporter of labor anymore. At least with the recession, it's now zero, and soon, even out of the recession, it may continue to be a zero. Therefore, people are coming from poorer countries, for example, those of Central America, which are classified as lower middle income countries. But it still gets close to the principle that we're talking about, that there will be new opportunities for the people coming from low income countries to move on as people from, say, Mexico, Brazil, other countries like China stop coming to the high income countries, instead stay where they are. And you see this over and over again. Those countries, more and more, as those countries rise, they're seeing rapid economic growth. And as they approach the high income level, very often the people decide that they really don't desperately want to go through all the rigmarole of immigrating to a high income country. So basically, there's a whole lot of good reasons for hoping that for being joyful and avoiding that Prozac, in that the lowest income, the low income countries have already moved up into the lower middle income category and are continuing to rapidly move up to higher categories, and that those countries that remain, at least a fair number of them that remain in the low income category, may well be able to rapidly follow the ones that have already moved up. So basically, we're making a huge amount of progress in the battle against poverty. In fact, I think we can almost say that if we're talking about super poverty, the type of poverty we saw in the low-income countries, we have pretty much almost broken the back of poverty. You know, we really had a problem of those countries. Their population grew faster than the rich countries, and it was a real worry. But now we can see their population, the combined population of all the low-income countries of the world is basically on a rapid downhill trend. And soon we may be able to retire the entire category, as it were. Okay, I think that's pretty hopeful. Hopefully that will make you a little bit less inclined to grab the Prozac. So this is your Prozac Economist. Like this video if you like it. Leave a comment if you've got something to say. And of course, those links are always welcome. Thank you and bye.